Hello and welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. You'd think I'd know what day it was by now. I almost got it wrong again. I got up this morning somehow convinced it was Thursday. Do not do that if you want your diary to work. It leads to all sorts of problems. Anyway, it is Wednesday, and what have we got for you today? We have got a puzzle by Lucy Odrin, and it's called The Return of the Pentominous Odds. Lucy has appeared on the channel many times before. Puzzles are always an absolute delight, so we should be in for a treat today. And in fact, if you enjoy this, lots of her puzzles are available on her website, which is mindwielders.com. Now, before I read you the rules, there is a lot going on around the channel at the moment. The first thing to mention is, of course, Marge, and Marge has inherited this Sudoku from her grandfather. Now, I am led to believe, and where's the puzzle? Let me find it. This is what Marge inherited, and some people, I believe, have actually managed to find a video of the grandfather off the back of this Sudoku. So there is something about solving the Sudoku that leads to a video of the grandfather, a very unfortunate looking fellow, I'm led to believe, but he does seem to lead you onto a treasure hunt. So there is some sort of puzzle hunt going on around Marge's will, not Marge's will, the grandfather's will, and Marge's inheritance. So do have a look at it. It sounds amazing, and I believe that Marge's grandfather has somehow managed to, or Marge has released more puzzles this afternoon. So if you want to know what all this is about, go to our Twitter account @CrypticCracking, download Marge's Sudoku and solve it, and find the video, and then all will become hopefully a bit clearer. Anyway, what else is going on? On Patreon, we've got my solve of PHISTOMEFEL'S new logic puzzle, Sisyphus. That's certainly worth a look at. It's an amazing puzzle, and we're going to release a new crossword video that Mark's made of his latest battle with the Times Club monthly special. That will probably come out on what day is it? I'm so discombobulated. Friday. It will come out on Friday. And of course, yesterday's video by Mark, his world record attempt at the Times Cryptic crossword. He was trying to do the puzzle in less than 3 minutes. That gives you an idea of how long the video is. And I've very much been enjoying the comments, which are all along the lines of, what the heck have I just seen? So yeah, do have a look at it. Anyway, all that said, let's get to the rules of Lucy's new puzzle. What have we got going on? We have got normal Sudoku rules apply. In every 3x3 box, the odd digits form a pentomino shape. So what's a pentomino, I hear you ask? Well, a pentomino is simply 5 orthogonally connected cells. So that would be a pentomino, for example. That would be a pentomino. That would be a pentomino. This would not be a pentomino, because although this is 5 cells and they are sort of connected, they are only connected at points, not along edges. So this would not be a valid pentominous shape. So we've got to make sure that the odd digits in each 3x3 box form a pentomino. The cell with a circle is odd. That's that one. And inequality signs point to the smaller of the two cells. Yeah, okay, so we've got lots of dominoes separated by an inequality sign, so we simply have to make sure that the pointed end points to the lower digit. Do have a go yourselves. The way to play, of course, is to click the link under the video as usual. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And what I can see... Well, what I'm immediately thinking is I must have to colour this grid, because if I have to form pentominos with odd digits, it seems like a good excuse to colour the grid, doesn't it? So let us use, what do I use for odds? I use orange for odds because they both begin with the letter O. This is how simply my mind works. So let's make all of those orange. That one shouldn't be orange. I don't know what that one is yet. So we will make the even digits blue. Now two things are revealed to us, look, because this 5 and this 7 need to connect to 4 friends in these boxes. So the only way they can do that is to take those 2 squares. Now, yeah, in fact, we can go a lot further. In fact, the logic is almost symmetrical with these 2s and 4s placed. We're going to have to take this square, because if we just take this one, that's 3 cells, not 5 cells. And we're also going to have to take this one for the same reason. So all 4 of those squares must be odd, and one of those 3 will be the last one, and here, these 4 must be odd. 3 is not in those squares, so they must be 1, 5 and 9, and in fact that's not 5, look. So immediately we've actually got some damage done in box 7. And we can do more damage in box 3 using this 3, same logic. So everything is quite symmetrical at the moment. We've got 1, 7, 9 here, 1, 5, 9 here. That means this square is even, because this square sees 1, 3, 5, 7 and 9 by Sudoku, in fact. So this square must be even. Now, what does all this mean? Does that mean I should probably think about Sudoku as well, shouldn't I? I know I tend to neglect it, but let's just take a quick look and see if we can do anything Sudoku-ly. The answer seems to be not a great deal. No. Okay, so the 3 in box 7 and the 3 in box 3 is in one of 3 places. Maybe I'll pencil mark that to make myself feel like I'm making progress. And we can... Now, what do we do? So what I'm hunting for, obviously, hopefully it's obvious anyway, is I'm hunting for rows and columns that have either lots of blues or lots of oranges. We've got... right. Now I see what to do. Let's have a look at column 8. Because, is it possible that there's no odd digit in these 2 squares? Well, the answer is no, because if that's the case, look what happens to this box. It gets divided by the sort of, well, the red C has divided box 9 now, and there's no way to cross it, or the blue C, I don't know, you know what I mean. There's a C right in the middle of this box, and there's no way that the oranges can connect. We cannot build a bridge. So how could I possibly create a 5-cell region of oranges in box 9? I can't. So this is impossible, and that means that one of those squares must be orange, and that will make 5 oranges in the column, which means those 2 squares are blue. And I suppose one of those 2 squares must be a 5, because we've got the rest of the odd digits in column 8 already. So, what does that mean? That means that... Right, that is absolutely lovely, because now this cell has suddenly acquired potency. Why? Well, how are we going to make this into a pentomino? Well, the answer is I don't really know, but I do know that that cell and that cell will have to be part of this shape, because even if I extend as far as I can go in either of these 2 directions, I won't get to a count of 5. So those 2 squares must be orange, and look what that does to row 6 of the grid. All of those, therefore, are blue. Oh, this is just, it's beautiful setting. It really is beautiful setting. Now this 5 and this 1 have acquired potency, because this 5 needs to attach to its friends somehow. So both of those squares are going to have to be odd. And it's a bit harder to see how this pentomino develops. And this one, oh no, I was about to say this square can't be odd, but it can be. It can just get there, look. Okay, so maybe we've got to look somewhere else now. Oh, well, the obvious place to look is this row, because we've got the same thing going on. I can't make a blue C horizontally in box 9 either, because then I can't connect the 5 orange squares together. So there must be an orange in one of these 2 squares. Therefore, there's no orange in those 2 squares. So one of these 2 squares must be a 7. And now this 3 is subject to the same thing that the this square was. Because how do I create a pentomino out of this 3? Well, however I do it, those 2 squares are going to have to be in that pentomino. Now I've got 5 odd digits in column 6, so those turn blue. That square is a naked single, because it's even and it's not 2, 4 or 6. And we're going to cook with gas here, I think. 6, where does 6 go in column 6? It goes there, because it can't go in those two squares. So now we've got a 2, 4 pair at the top of the column. And we've got 2 more things I can see here. The first, of course, is that in box 2, we've got 4 even digits. So the rest of them must be odd. And the second thing is that I've got 4 even digits in row 2. So all of those must be odd. And now, what does that mean? Okay, let's pause for breath and see if we can see anything easy. I almost feel like it might be Sudoku now. Because, oh, nearly. Look, we've almost got 5 odd digits in column 2. Ah, this is interesting, this square, look, that's hemmed in our pentomino in box 5, so that's got to now be odd. Although that doesn't seem to be quite enough. Right, okay. 2, 1, 2, 3. Sorry if you're all seeing ways to progress here. I'm not spotting them yet. 4, 6. 6 has to be in one of those 3 squares. No, that is the most useless deduction in Christendom. 5 is interesting in box 6. Look, it can't be in any of those squares. That is interesting because 5 must be in this domino, and therefore, well, 2 things follow from that. The first is that one of these 2 squares at least must be odd, and therefore this square itself must be odd, because if the 5 is here or here, we know that the pentomino is coming in this direction. Now the corollary of that is that this square must be even, of course, because we can no longer reach this square with this pentomino. Now, does that do anything? Yes, it does, because now I've got 4... Good grief, I've now got 4 even digits in row 4 of the grid, so now I've got these 2 have to be 4 and 8. There's a 4 here. So that's 4, that's 8, that must be 2 or 6. And all of the rest of this row is now odd, which means this is even to complete the even quote of a box 5. Oh, we can't quite do this one. This must be even, so that must be a 2 or a 6 to complete the evens in box 6. 1. Where does 1 go? In this box, it must go in the same cells as the 5. So that's become a 1-5 pair now, which means 1 is over on the right-hand side of box 9. Those 2 squares are a 7-9 pair. Now, and now I've got 5 odd digits in column 2, so those 2 have to become even. One of these is even at least. One of these is even. 2 of these are even. Hang on, so now what have we got going on? We've got 4 oranges in both of these columns. Ah, right, so now we know the shape of this. We don't know how this shape, we don't know whether it's these 2 or these 2, but we know this can't be a U pentomino. What we cannot do is complete the 5 odd digits like this, because if we do, we've now got 6 odds in column 5. So this either comes this way with a V, or this way with a V. But I don't think... Can we tell which one of those is correct? I'm not sure. So, where should we look now? We should look at maybe box 9. We've got, what have we got going on box 9? We've got one of these two. Exactly one of these two is odd, and exactly one of these two is odd. What does that mean? So that means that you always have two cells that share an edge that are odd. But we don't know where they are. They're either there and there, there and there, there and there, or there and there. But we do, I suppose, then know that they must connect using their corner. So whichever one of these is odd, it will pair up. Let's imagine it was that one, just for the sake of argument. It's going to have to pair up with one of these being odd. Now let's just pick this one. Now it's not possible for this to be even now, because if this was even, the only way of connecting these odds orthogonally would be to go right round the corner like that, and that would mean there would be 7 odd digits between the numbers 1 and 9 inclusive, and that is bobbins. So we would know that this square then would be, oh no, hang on, I'm being really slow, sorry. Let us pause, rewind, and imagine you didn't see the last 30 seconds, because what we can say is that the moment, wherever the sort of pair of odd digits is, it's in a V pentomino, because the opposite cells have to both be even. So yeah, come back to this example. If these two are both odd, these two have to be even by definition, because otherwise we're breaking the number of odd cells we need in one of these rows and columns. And now look, you've isolated 5 cells here that would have to be the pentomino. It's absolutely brilliant. It really is. It's a simple idea that completely eluded me. So if it was these two that were orange, these two would be blue, and then you get a pentomino like that. So we don't know more than, or do we? So we know there's a V pentomino somewhere here, but it could be, I think, in one of 4 orientations. Except it can't be. What is not possible is that orientation. Yeah, this is lovely. This is absolutely lovely. Right. So, what can we say about a V pentomino? Well, we can say 2 things about it. It must take 3 cells in a row in a vertical direction somewhere. So one of these 2 strings must be in the V pentomino. And the same thing we can say about the horizontal direction. One of those 2 strings must be entirely odd. Now this string cannot be entirely odd, because that would put 6 odds in column 7. So that must be. That is a string of odds. Now the string of evens, I don't know which one it is, do we? Hang on a minute, let me think about this. Hang on, this is a V as well, isn't it? We know this is not 7 now, because there's no way we can join these 3 to this square. That is not 7. So that is 7, which means that's 9, that's 7. We need 1 and 3 into those positions. I love this puzzle. It's different, but still incredibly clever. I thought I could see. I thought my 3s were pointing there, but they're not. There's another 3, a rogue 3 down here. Maybe it's going to start a Super League. You never know. Right, that square must be blue, because we've got our 5 odds in row 8. So if... Right, yeah, so there's a sort of contradistinction, isn't there, between whichever way this... If this V goes like that, you couldn't complete this V in the same... with the same 2 squares. It would have to be the opposite. So that means... Okay, one thing that means, and it's minor, but I'm taking it, is that this square cannot be odd. Because if this square is odd, there's no way to get the count correct in row 9 now, because at the moment I've got 4 odd digits, and I know that one of these dominoes must be entirely odd, so I'm going to reach a count of 6 odd digits. That's wrong, or wroggen. So this square is definitely even, and therefore it's not 3, and now I've got a 3 up here, which gives me my 1 and gives me my 3, and now 1 is in one of those 2 squares, which is it. That's it, isn't it? That is it, because now if 1 is down here, 1 is odd. So this V pentomino must come to these squares. So those are odd. That is therefore not 6. These 2 are both turned even. Now how do we make sure we've got the right count now in row 9? Those are even. Those are odd. That's not 5. This is 5. Whoops. That's 9. That means, oh, I see. So we've got a 3 in one of these, and therefore this square is a 7. Which means these 2 squares are 5 and 9. Which means these are 1, 5 and 9 in some order. And now we take another stair. So we've got 4s. Yeah, where does 4 go in box 9? It can only go here. 2, no, not quite. Oh, but this 2 is lovely now, because this 2 is vertical. It's looking at this 2, 6 pair. So that's a 2, that's a 6, that becomes a 6, this becomes a 2, 8 pair. Therefore, yeah, and this is great. Row 9, this square's got to be a 2 or an 8. It sees a 2, so that's an 8. That's a 2, that's an 8. 8 lives in one of those 2 squares. 4 lives in one of those 2 squares too. So the 6 moves down, joins its friend the 2. And they can be a 4, 8 pair together. So, so this is a 3, 6 pair to complete row 7. 2 is placed, I think, in box 5 now by our old friend Sudoku. So that's a 2. This is a 4, 8 pair. It's probably resolved somehow, but I can't see how. I've not used any of these inequalities yet, actually. I wonder if that's a clue as to how this puzzle is set. Because the whole logic that we've done so far is so beautiful. I imagine Lucy didn't want to upset it by introducing anything at a late stage that could disturb the logic. And the simplest way to disambiguate a sort of a Sudoku at the very end is to introduce something like a 1-cell thermometer or a inequality sign. Now, this column is done. Look, I've got 5. I've got all of the odd digits, so that square's got to be even, and it's a 6. Look. So now these 2 squares have got to be 3 and 8 in some order. And let's get rid of the corner pencil mark and take another stair. So there must be some way we can resolve what we've got left. It's probably to do with... There's got to... Oh, it's to do with this 8. This 8 is rather good because look, none of those squares can be 8 because these are all odd digits. So 8 moves into one of those 2 squares, and look, there's a 9 here. So our inequality sign comes into play. If this square is an 8, you'd have to put a 9 there. You can't do that. So that's an 8. That disambiguates the 8 and the 4 and the 8. This square's a 6. That finishes, lovely. That finishes the 6 and the 3 in box 7. So now 3 last time I checked was odd, so that becomes even. We just need a 4 in this column. Don't know if we know where that goes. Oh, good grief, but this is an 8 next to an inequality sign. So that's a 9, which is therefore odd. This square is a 4. That 9 sees this square. That's the 5 and the 1 done. 3 and 7 go into those 2 squares. Can't see if that's resolved. 9 here is not there. 5 here means we get a 9 at the bottom of the grid. Let's try and use scanning. Don't know now. 2 and a 4 here. So those two squares are, those two squares are 6 and 8, and we've got a 6 there. So we know the order. That's 6, that's 8, that's 8, that's 3. That completes a Z pentomino in this box. That's got to be blue. 2 and 4 is greater than an odd digit. So this is a tiny digit. That's a 1 or a 3. I've got 5 odd digits in this column. So those two squares are a 2-4 pair, and they are both therefore even, which means we get a T pentomino to complete box 1. 7 has got to be in one of those two squares, so 7 is not here. So if 7 was here, this would have to be 9, because that's the only odd digit that's greater than 7, obviously. 3 has got to be in one of 3 has got to be in one of those two squares, because it does. By Sudoku, look, there's a 3 in this domino here. Now, okay. This is an odd digit that's greater than... this is a... Right, now, this is nice, because this has to be a 7 or a 9, because it's got to be greater than 6 and odd, but it's not 7. That's 9. So that's 1. 9 is now vertical in box 1. Look, it's in one of those two squares, so that one has become not 9, which gives us a 1-5 pair down here. So this is the only place a 9 can go in box 7 of the grid. 1 or 5. I think it's right on the cusp now of cracking. How do we finish this off? We could... There must be an odd digit I've not focused on enough. It might be 1, actually. I'm just seeing those 3 squares can't contain 1s because they're all the larger of an inequality. So the 1 must be in one of those two positions, which means that's not a 1, which I think is... We know that's not a 1. Oh, bobbins, I don't know. Oh, in fact, look. Just didn't scan that properly, but I've actually done this row, all of these 6 digits, so these squares are known. They're 3, 5 and 7. Oh, I can see that's going to do it. That's going to do it. Why do I think it's going to do it? Well, it gives me a 1-9 pair up here. And if that's a 1-9 pair, it's pointing down there, so that's a 5, that's a 1, that's a 3. Now the inequality sign comes into its own. It forces 7 and 5. 7 goes there, 7 goes here by Sudoku. We need 3 and 9, which I can do. That places 3. I must need a 1 in that box. Okay, that felt like it was real progress. 3 in box 2 can only go here. That's probably... that is useful for this square. Now can't be a 2 anymore, so that's a 4, that's a 2. That's a 2, that's a 4. Oh, that was a... Look, there was a little deadly pattern there that was resolved by this 3. That's rather cute. Okay. So this square, well, okay, this square is a 1 or a 5, but it's got to be greater than 2. That doesn't leave it with an awful lot of options. And these squares are 1 and 7. And you can see this inequality sign here is very useful because we need it to be greater than 5. So that fixes everything. The world is aligned, and that, I think, is the solution to Lucy's puzzle. I love that. That was so elegant. This idea of forming pentominos with odd digits. Just loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. I hope you did well. And check out, of course, Marge's grandfather's Sudoku if you want a lot of interesting stuff to do over the coming days. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.